On October 26, 2022, 23-year-old Bryce Brogal disappeared under mysterious circumstances in the small rural town of Center Township, Minnesota. What began as an ordinary day became the start of a harrowing investigation into a young man's fate. Bryce was last seen leaving a home in the township and was heading to a nearby storage facility with his girlfriend, Cordelia Illex, and her father, Michael Illex. Cordelia, who had been dating Bryce for 8 months, returned home later that day to find he had not returned. Initially, there was no reason to suspect foul play. Bryce was familiar with Michael and had visited the storage unit many times before. He and Cordelia had just returned from a cross-country trip, and the outing seemed routine, simply a visit to sort through belongings. However, what unfolded would reveal a far darker reality: the frantic call to authorities. 2 days after Bryce's disappearance, Cordelia called the Crow Wing County Sheriff's Office to file a missing person report. According to her, Bryce had gone to a storage unit with her father and had not returned. Michael told her that official-looking men had intercepted him and Bryce at the storage facility. He claimed the men had taken Bryce into custody, but provided no identification, no agency name, and no explanation for why he was being detained. The story immediately raised red flags for investigators. With no record of an arrest and no trace of Bryce, authorities began to dig deeper. Cordelia's frantic messages to Bryce on the night he disappeared: "I love you. Miss you already. You planning on coming back for me, please?" went unanswered. Michael Illex's account. Investigators first interviewed Michael Illex. He explained that he and Bryce had driven to the storage facility in a white Ford Escape with a U-Haul trailer. The trip was uneventful until they were leaving around 5:45 p.m. when 2 unmarked vehicles intercepted them. Michael claimed Bryce was separated and placed in one of the cars, while he remained in another. He described the vehicles as plain and dark-colored, with lights resembling those of unmarked police cars. Michael maintained that the incident seemed official, yet he could provide no explanation for why Bryce had been taken or who these men were. From his perspective, the encounter was terrifying, but he insisted that it was unrelated to any wrongdoing on Bryce's part. A complicated family dynamic. The investigation quickly revealed a tense family dynamic. Cordelia described her parents as overbearing, with strict boundaries and intrusive oversight. Michael's behavior toward Bryce had always been suspicious. He believed Bryce was controlling and possessive of Cordelia, often monitoring her phone and email communications. There were past incidents of alleged abuse, and Michael seemed determined to protect his daughter at all costs. Bryce, meanwhile, was an adventurous young man who had spent months traveling across the United States with Cordelia, pursuing his dream of an independent, self-sufficient lifestyle. Friends and family described him as caring and loving, with no apparent motive to disappear voluntarily. Suspicious evidence emerges. As investigators pieced together the timeline, they discovered discrepancies in Michael's story. His own phone data indicated he had returned to the storage unit on October 27th, the day after Bryce disappeared. He stayed there for 22 minutes before heading to public land near Lake Edward, a remote area far from civilization. A search of the storage unit revealed a bottle of bleach containing both Bryce's and Michael's DNA, as well as traces of blood and drag marks, consistent with moving a heavy object on a sled. Further examination of the area near Lake Edward uncovered freshly disturbed ground, covered with leaves in an attempt to conceal activity, but investigators quickly realized that someone had tried, and failed, to disguise a grave. The grim discovery. Excavation revealed Bryce Brogal's body. He had been shot in the back of the head, and his body had been moved from the storage unit to the remote site using a sled. Michael Illex's involvement became undeniable as evidence and witness testimonies converged. 2 days before the body was discovered, Michael's half-siblings had reported that he confessed to shooting Bryce and burying the body, detailing the use of the sled and the covering of the grave with leaves. Michael's actions suggested a premeditated intent rather than a spontaneous act. He had stored firearms at his half-sister's home in advance, and multiple statements indicated he had been planning to confront Bryce about his relationship with Cordelia. Motive and manipulation. Michael claimed his motive was to protect his daughter from an abusive relationship. During interviews and the trial, he described observing bruises on Cordelia's face and asserted that Bryce had been controlling and violent. However, Cordelia consistently denied any physical abuse from Bryce, maintaining that she had been happy in the relationship. Investigators determined that Michael's narrative was a manipulation to justify his actions. The physical evidence, corroborated by cell phone data and witness testimony, painted a picture of cold-blooded, premeditated murder rather than a spontaneous act in defense of his daughter. The trial and conviction. In March 2023, prosecutors upgraded the charges against Michael Illex to first-degree murder. The trial commenced in 2024, drawing attention due to its shocking and complex nature. Michael testified, maintaining that Bryce had threatened his daughter and that he had acted in the heat of the moment. He claimed that bringing Bryce to the storage unit was intended to provoke a confrontation to document abusive behavior. The jury, however, was unconvinced. On April 2024, Michael Illex was found guilty of first-degree premeditated murder and a lesser count of second-degree murder. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The verdict brought closure to the tragic case, but left lingering questions about family dynamics, manipulation, and the lengths someone might go to in the name of protection. Aftermath and reflection. Cordelia continues to mourn Bryce on social media, posting tributes and reflecting on their relationship. She has publicly denied that Bryce was abusive, countering her father's testimony and painting a picture of a young couple in love. Friends, family, and the local community have struggled to reconcile the brutal murder with the complex family circumstances surrounding it. The case of Bryce Brogal underscores the dangers of obsession, suspicion, and misguided attempts at protection. It is a chilling reminder that appearances can be deceiving, and that even within families, violent acts can be carried out under the guise of care or concern. The disappearance and murder of Bryce Brogal is a tragic story that resonates far beyond Center Township. It illustrates the complexity of human relationships, the danger of assumptions, and the critical role of law enforcement in untangling carefully hidden crimes. While Michael Illex faces justice, the emotional scars left on Cordelia and the broader community remain. As investigators, courts, and families grapple with the aftermath, the case serves as a somber reminder that vigilance, transparency, and adherence to the law are essential in protecting innocent lives. Bryce Brogal's story will be remembered as a cautionary tale about the fine line between protection and obsession, and the devastating consequences when that line is crossed. Thank you for watching this episode about Bryce Brogal's tragic story. If you want to follow more shocking true crime cases like this, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear what you think. Stay alert, stay safe, and we'll see you in the next story. Source: https www.youtube.com watch DW5QWW BRJRQ-4